The Mets have outbid the Yankees for Juan Soto, and here he is in Queens now. This is undeniably a huge loss for the Yankees, but will they survive without Juan Soto? It's no sure thing that they will, but it's absolutely 100% possible they can. The Yankees may have just lost a generational superstar they would not have even sniffed the World Series without, but he is just one guy. The Yankees have a lot more flexibility to fill out other areas of need now. In fact, it didn't take long to do so, as the Yankees signed Max Fried to a $218 million deal for the next 8 years, and they were able to offer Juan Soto $760 million, so clearly there's still plenty of room to spend. I still don't believe the Yankees will ever win a World Series with Aaron Boone as the manager, but if Brian Cashman plays his cards right with filling out the rest of the roster, this is still at least a playoff team and possibly can get back to the World Series if no one else in the American League really gets much better. The Yankees also got their closer in Devin Williams, which has been an area of need for a couple years now. History tells us that losing Juan Soto is totally survivable. When A-Rod decided to leave Seattle and take the then largest contract ever from the Texas Rangers in 2001, the Mariners won a record 116 games that year. When Bryce Harper left the Nationals for the Phillies, the Nationals won the World Series that year. The Padres just proved that Juan Soto is very much replaceable by missing the playoffs with him, and without him they were the biggest threat to the Dodgers out of the 3 teams they faced on their way to winning the World Series, and trading him was a win through addition by subtraction. So to kick things off with what the Yankees have already done to go about life after Juan Soto, they wasted no time improving their starting pitching by getting Max Fried for 8 years, $218 million. That's an AAV of $27.25 million per year. The Yankees needed a number 2 starter, with Carlos Rodon not exactly panning out the way we hoped when he was brought in 2 years ago, and they got the guy with the lowest ERA since 2020. Fried's career 5.10 postseason ERA is a little concerning come playoff time. At least he did pitch a shutout in the deciding game of the 2021 World Series, so it's not like he's never risen to the occasion with high stakes. I just hope as a Yankee he can do it more consistently, but at least in the regular season, I don't have any doubts he'll improve the starting rotation. Also, 8 years for a guy who will be 31 next month may seem like a lot, but he should be able to age pretty well because he doesn't throw that hard. One more thing about Fried before I move on to who else the Yankees may pursue to fill other areas of need. Fried has a career 2.53 ERA in AL East ballparks. He has yet to pitch in Tampa or Toronto, but in 5 games at Yankee Stadium, Fenway Park, and Camden Yards combined, he has a 2.53 ERA. Devin Williams is the new closer who the Yankees got for Nestor Cortez and Caleb Durbin. Williams has a career 1.83 ERA, and he's on a very affordable 1-year contract. He could only be a rental, but the Yankees only gave up Nestor Cortez, who is no longer the pitcher he was in 2021 or 22, and Caleb Durbin, who was not even a top 30 prospect in the Yankees farm system, so I don't find what the Yankees gave up for Williams concerning at all. There is some downside though to acknowledge, and maybe I'm just spoiled from all those years I got to see Mariano Rivera as the Yankees closer, but I do think the negatives with Williams should be something to be mindful of. He choked in the wild card round and has a worse walk rate than Clay Holmes. If the Yankees are able to get deep into the playoffs, please don't get drunk and punch a wall again like you did 3 years ago. Overall though, I really like this move, but I still feel like I should be somewhat cautious with my optimism. I am glad that something was done about the need for a closer though, because I'm not all that convinced that Luke Weaver can really be all that for a full season. He was great when asked to do it in September, but he did show signs of fatigue during the postseason. I really wanted Kyle Tucker, but Brian Cashman really refused to include Luis Gil in the deal. If you're that sold on Gil, he better be an absolute stud for years to come. He won AL Rookie of the Year because Colton Cowser fell off in the last 2 months of the season, and Austin Wells fell off even harder in September. Gil was only that amazing in May, and he was decent in July. Otherwise, he wasn't so spectacular. I don't think he's terrible by any means, but is he really that untouchable untouchable? He's no Paul Skeens. It's true you can never have enough pitching, but you know this team needs an outfielder because as great as Trent Grisham is defensively, you absolutely do not want a sub 200 hitter as an everyday player, and Oswaldo Cabrera is really only good enough to be a utility player. So who should the Yankees pursue now instead? None of them are as good as Soto, but they won't be nearly as expensive. The Yankees may not be able to get all of these guys, but it's a lot more possible to get more than just Max Fried because the Mets outbid the Yankees for Soto. Let's also keep in mind that Giancarlo Stanton's guaranteed significantly less money after this upcoming season. He's making $32 million in 2025, but then only $19 million in 2026 and $15 million in 2027. DJ LeMahieu also only has 2 years left in his contract. I think the Yankees should just tell him to kick rocks now if the Astros were able to do it with Jose Abreu when he was making more money per season than LeMahieu has in his contract. With these two contracts being off the books pretty soon and Stanton's contract is about to become cheaper after this upcoming season, this also gives the Yankees more flexibility in the long term. Alex Bregman seems to be on the Yankees radar too, and I've already moved on from the Astros cheating scandal a long time ago. I also already made a video when the Astros swept the Yankees in the ALCS 2 years ago saying that never was the reason why the Yankees couldn't beat them. So yes, I'm all for bringing in Bregman. He did have a down year at the plate, I will acknowledge that. However, he's still a Gold Glove third baseman, and with Gleyber Torres more than likely not coming back, I'll take Bregman with Jazz Chisholm moving to second, a position he has a lot more experience at than third. Again, defense was a big reason why the Yankees lost in the World Series, and you get a guy who just won a Gold Glove and is still a productive bat even if not what he was a few years ago. Fun fact, by the way, Derek Jeter is the reason why Bregman chose to wear number 2 for the Astros. Cody Bellinger makes sense too after winning Comeback Player of the Year in 2023. He's still not the most durable guy as he missed 32 games in each of the last 2 seasons, but he is another lefty bat who will benefit from the short porch in right field. Defensively, he doesn't have great range but does have a pretty good arm. If the Yankees find a way to trade for Bellinger and put him in center field with Aaron Judge back in right field where he's a lot better, I'm all for it. I won't expect 2019 MVP Cody Bellinger, but as a cheaper guy than Soto that allows the Yankees to pay Max Fried and perhaps get one more guy, it doesn't sound bad to me. Bellinger can play first base too, which the Yankees need with Anthony Rizzo most likely gone. Anthony Santander is a guy being talked about, and there's some good and some bad that comes with him. As much as Aaron Judge is a better right fielder than center fielder, you don't want Trent Grisham to be your starting center fielder, do you? He may have 2 Gold Gloves, but he's a terrible hitter, so you may as well keep Judge in center field and have Santander in right if you do sign him. Unfortunately, a downside is that Santander is not a good fielder, so yeah, that does hurt the defense. Offensively, of course, Santander is not as good as Soto, but neither is anyone else available, and Santander does have some upside. He's still a good hitter that's available, and he's a switch hitter who most of his home runs are to right field. That's perfect for Yankee Stadium. He is a low average hitter, but his K rate is not that high. I don't expect him to ever be a 300 hitter, but I think he'll hit better than 235 if he plays at Yankee Stadium. In 6 games at Yankee Stadium this past season, he hit just 240 with just a 296 on base percentage. However, 3 of those 6 hits this past season were home runs, and in 2023 he hit 375 with a 516 on base percentage and a 500 slugging percentage. Give him more games and it'll be somewhere in between that, but probably closer to 240. As a switch hitter who hits most of his home runs to right field though, he's definitely not my first choice, but in case the other choices that I have above Santander happen to fall through, then I don't think that Santander is a terrible acquisition. I mean, at least offensively, the fit does make sense. One more outfielder that's a possibility is Jurickson Profar, who is a switch hitter who can hit to all parts of the field. As great of a story as he was to have a breakout year at age 31 this past season, if there's anything to learn from Aaron Hicks, even if Profar had a better season than Hicks ever had, it's that you don't pay guys long-term contracts after 1 or 2 good seasons. I'd be fine with the can you do it again deal for Profar. He's also not good defensively, so I'd be wary of that. that. What he could be really good for if he's not a one-year wonder is a reliable leadoff hitter, because the Yankees don't have that with Gleyber gone. Right now, Anthony Volpe would be the leadoff hitter, and he's a lot better at hitting 6th or 7th. Profar spent most of this past season hitting 2nd or 3rd, but in the 19 games he hit leadoff, he hit really well. Out of everyone else being mentioned, he may be best suited to hit leadoff, but I'll be cautious just knowing what I think should have already been learned from Aaron Hicks' contract. The Yankees also need a first baseman with Anthony Rizzo most likely gone. Christian Walker's available. Again, bad defense is a reason why the Yankees lost in the World Series, right? You're getting a 3-time Gold Glover in Walker, and he can hit for pretty good power too. Defense is the bigger reason for pursuing him, since he is a right-handed pull hitter and he's an all-or-nothing guy. He may not be the most ideal in a perfect world, but because this team needs a first baseman, I'd say he's the best option available to play there full time. What else would be helpful is if the Yankees can find a diamond in the rough or two. There have been plenty of moves Brian Cashman made throughout his time as the Yankees GM that were absolutely terrible, but one thing we have to give him credit for is there's actually quite a lot of diamonds in the rough that he's been able to find. Didi Gregorius, Luke Voigt, Gio Urshela, I'll even say Aaron Hicks before he got paid. After he got paid, he was a disaster, but 2017 and 18, Hicks was a decent player who was brought in for a 3rd string catcher. Or more recently, Nestor Cortez and Jose Trevino, or this year with the bullpen finding Tim Hill and Luke Weaver. Clay Holmes, even with all those blown saves, he was a good reliever for the Yankees, just not closer material. Most of these guys didn't stay good for very long though, and if Luke Weaver will or not, only time will tell. As for Tim Hill, well, he's a free agent and I have no idea if the Yankees have any plans to bring him back. And if the Yankees do, well, only time will tell if he'll actually stay good or not, since he is 34 years old. Here's something I've been saying for a while and I'll keep saying it. It'd be most ideal if the Yankees could develop their prospects better. That was a huge reason they were so successful in the 90s. I don't care what anyone says, it was a bigger reason they were so successful in the 90s than having more money than everyone else. It still matters today. The Astros won their 2 championships with lots of homegrown talent. The Orioles and Braves have gotten where they are now with lots of homegrown talent. The Dodgers' 3 best players may be guys they bought, or 4 if Teoscar Hernandez resigns, but they still have guys like Max Muncy, Will Smith, and Walker Buehler. The Yankees have only developed 2 guys out of their farm system that were superstars for more than 2 seasons in the last 20 years. Luis Gil may have won AL Rookie of the Year, but that was more because of how weak his competition was there. I just really hope Luis Gil can be someone who can build off of winning AL Rookie of the Year. Even while winning Rookie of the Year, it was an up and down season for him. Knowing the only 2 starting pitchers the Yankees have developed out of their farm system since the 70s that stayed good for more than 2 seasons are Ron Guidry and Andy Pettitte, I'll be cautious with my optimism about Gil. At least this upcoming season, he really won't cost anything at all. Okay, he'll make more money than the average person, but way less than the average professional athlete. I wish the Yankees could develop some guys that we can consider untouchable. Anthony Volpe can play defense and can run, but after 2 seasons, I'm pretty doubtful he'll ever turn into a reliable hitter. Sure, he hit well in the ALDS and CS, but outside of that 1 Grand Slam, no he didn't in the World Series. Austin Wells looked really good at the plate in July and August, but fell off a cliff in September. Maybe after having spent a full season in the big leagues, he can sustain that longer, but we don't know. Right now, I only really trust him defensively. It does look like Jason Dominguez will finally get his chance and not be buried in the minor leagues. Hopefully, he can live up to his hype. We've seen how well he can hit before he had Tommy John surgery, and he was tearing the cover off the ball in AAA while buried there before late September. The concern with him, though, is defense. With just knowing when the Yankees had their Baby Bombers movement from 2016 to 18, only Aaron Judge was a star for more than 2 seasons. Yeah, I think I'll be setting myself up to be disappointed if I get my hopes up again. The Padres managed to get better without Juan Soto and be so much better than expected this past season by finding a diamond in the rough, having a top prospect, and getting a pitcher who we knew was good but better than some of us realized. When the Yankees acquired Juan Soto last year, many of us, including myself, I won't deny it, were absolutely ecstatic. Okay, I completely underestimated how good Michael King could actually be as a starter for a whole season. I knew he was really good as a reliever and he pitched well as a starter towards the end of the season, but I had no idea he would dominate the way he did in his first full season as a starter. He did just that. He came in for a lot less money and was just re-signed for a one-year deal. Short term, the trade got the Yankees to the World Series, but then the Padres got to keep the best player they got back in return for Soto, while Soto's no longer a Yankee, and are in a pretty good position to build off of what they were able to accomplish this past season going forward. For the diamond in the rough, that was Jurickson Profar, who had his breakout year in his age 31 season, and the top prospect, that was Jackson Merrill, who was a huge upgrade in center field over Trent Grisham. The Padres won this trade through addition by subtraction. Being outbid by the Mets for Juan Soto could be an addition by subtraction win for the Yankees too. Even if the Yankees are actually better without Juan Soto, there will still be a flaw or two with this team. We can start with Aaron Boone as a flaw, but roster-wise, only Jurickson Profar would actually address their need for a leadoff hitter, assuming he's not just a one-year wonder. But because we don't know that, yes, there is some risk that comes with him. Anthony Volpe certainly doesn't look like he's the answer for a leadoff hitter. There really is no such thing as a team that's completely flawless, and this goes for even the greatest teams of all time. The last Yankees team to win the World Series had a really well-balanced offense, but they had to go with a three-man rotation in the playoffs, and CC Sabathia was the only starter that was actually consistent. In the 90s, they didn't have a rotation like what the Braves had, yet they beat them twice. Chuck Knobloch had the yips. There's plenty more, or this year's Dodgers were actually negative in outs above average as a team, and with Shohei Ohtani coming off Tommy John surgery, which has prevented him from even throwing one pitch for the Dodgers so far, or Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Clayton Kershaw, and Walker Buehler also dealing with injuries, the Dodgers had a below average starting pitching ERA as a team. We can definitely find more, but the point is, no team is flawless, and I fully expect the Yankees to still have flaws this upcoming season. At least some are easier to address now because Juan Soto took the money from the Mets. Juan Soto seemed to love being a Yankee, and he sure did look like he wanted to be a Yankee for life when seeing his body language on the field throughout the season. Clearly that wasn't the case when he decided to go after the money. Trevor Plouffe from John Boy Media said that Steve Cohen may have not only offered more money, but also a better story to Soto than Hal Steinbrenner did. Finding out Cohen granted a suite for Soto's family at Citi Field, which Hal didn't at Yankee Stadium, sure confirmed it. But even before finding that out, I believed Cohen sold a better story because Soto's been a Yankee for a year, so he knows what this team's all about. Perhaps the Mets putting up a better fight against the Dodgers and not having a monumental collapse like the Yankees did in the 5th inning in Game 5 of the World Series may have convinced Soto too. Boone was severely outmanaged in the World Series, which comes as no surprise. It wasn't just the 5th inning, there's plenty more than just that, and even if he wasn't the one that made those errors during that 5th inning, it is a reflection of him being a terrible leader, and for him to not even go out for a mound visit while that was happening is unacceptable. The Mets may not have been as top heavy as the Yankees were with Soto and Aaron Judge, and as great as Francisco Lindor is, he's no Aaron Judge, but they're a team that played with a lot of grit this past season. This also tells me something about Carlos Mendoza as a manager. We've seen for years that Aaron Boone is gutless. The year before Mendoza was managing the Mets, they were 75 and 87. Last season, they were 89 and 73, still only a 3rd place team in the NL East, yet they managed to upset the 1st place Phillies in the NLDS. That said though, well,
I will do what I must.
You will try.
I'm just kidding. I don't have nearly the animosity towards the Mets that I do for the Red Sox. What I actually think of the Mets,
for us, there wasn't a hatred of the Mets. They were just, how we looked at it was just the Mets, right?
Did the Yankees dodge a bullet? Honestly, only time will tell. We have seen contracts like this hurt teams in the long run, but Soto is still 26 and he's not only great in the regular season, but he was even better come playoff time for the Yankees. Soto is definitely towards the bottom of the list for who's to blame for the Yankees losing the World Series. He was also a huge reason the Nationals won the World Series in 2019, hitting .333 with an OPS over 1,000 in that series when he just turned 21 right around that time. As great as Soto is though, now it just got a lot harder for the Mets to bring back Pete Alonso and Jose Quintana. Their starting rotation is a huge question mark now. They actually want to make Clay Holmes a starter? Why? Who will actually play first base for the Mets now with Pete Alonso most likely gone? I don't want him on the Yankees even as clutch as he was in the playoffs because he can't play defense and he's an all or nothing right-handed hitter. At least Santander is a switch hitter who doesn't strike out nearly as much as Alonso, so I'd rather take my chances with him in right field than Alonso at first. I'd also rather have Christian Walker at first base. While both him and Alonso are all or nothing right-handed hitters, Walker's at least a great defensive first baseman and Alonso is not. If the Mets finally do win a World Series though, Mets fans have cried to me for as long as I remember that the Yankees bought their championships. I hope you guys keep the same energy if the Mets do win with Soto. Your top two players were bought. I made it very clear that I don't believe you can buy championships and spending a lot of money doesn't guarantee you anything. I keep bringing this up from Derek Jeter when it comes to buying championships. I'll bring it up again.
Let's be clear about one thing. You can't buy a championship. What you can do is you can buy an opportunity to win a championship. You can buy optimism for players, you can buy optimism for a fan base, but ultimately you still got to go on the field and play. And it's difficult to win. That's why you celebrate when you win, because it's difficult to do. So just because you have a high payroll doesn't guarantee a championship.
So I'll stay consistent, and I won't say in a serious manner that you bought the championship if you win one, but for how much I heard it for as long as I remember from Mets fans that the Yankees buy championships, it sure would give me a great laugh remembering how much you've cried about the Yankees buying championships, yet now you have an owner who's spending a crazy amount of money himself and you guys are raving about him. So that's all I have to say about all this. Do you think the Yankees are better off without Juan Soto? Who do you think the Yankees should go after next? Or what do you think of what the Yankees have done to address their pitching? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to consider subscribing and turning on notifications, that'd be greatly appreciated too. And welcome to the team if you're already subscribed. Thanks for your support as always. Links to my social media are down below for my more immediate reactions to what's going on in the sports world. If you'd like to see my most recent video or the one that YouTube recommends, both are up above. Thanks so much for watching and I'll catch you next time. Go Yankees!